Recently, the state of Hawaii banned certain forms of sunscreens with a chemical called oxybenzone. I want to talk on Ask Dr. Gil today about why they did that and the importance of doing that, not just for coral reefs, but also for people. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Ask Dr. Gil. I'm Dr. Gil Winkleman. And today on the program, we're going to take a little detour from our typical topics of mental health to talk about environmental health. And specifically, I want to talk about sunscreen. When I'm recording this, it's actually going to be one of the hotter days of the year in Portland. I split my time between Portland and Hawaii on the north shore of Oahu and practice both in Hawaii, Oregon, and also I have my telemedicine practice as well. Near the beach where I live, you can see sort of the effects of some of the issues that have been, raised by not just the sunscreens, but also plastic. So why did the state of Hawaii decide to ban these oxybenzones and some other chemicals? Now, just to be clear, the way the law was written, it was set up so that you cannot purchase these sunscreens in Hawaii. I believe it's 2021 is the year that it goes into effect. But that doesn't mean you can't bring it to the state. I think they would have liked to have added that, but it would be very difficult to enforce. So that's why they didn't do it. So the chemical in particular is oxybenzone, and then I think it was also octinoxate, both of which are highly toxic to coral reefs. And I'm going to get into the health issues as well, but let's talk about coral reefs first. Coral reefs are extremely important to life on the planet, and they cover less than 0.0025% of the ocean floor. But with that little coverage, they produce half of the Earth's oxygen and absorb nearly a third of carbon dioxide. And in Hawaii, their coral reefs have been damaged, but not to the level of other coral reefs. They're not nearly as big either. But the coral reefs off the Florida Keys, I read somewhere that there was almost 90% destruction of those reefs. And they're getting to a point where at some point, they won't be able to recover. So that was part of the reason that the state of Hawaii took action on this. And hopefully you'll take heed to this too. And I'll tell you what you need to get to protect yourself as well. Most of the sunscreens, I shouldn't say none, but most of the sunscreens on the market are not actually very good for you. And oxybenzone is the worst of the chemicals, but there's other chemicals that are also dangerous, and we'll get to that in a bit. But just in terms of the coral reefs, I just wanted to go back that according to Columbia, a study done by Columbia University, there was the global economic value of coral reefs is at least $375 billion a year. I've read higher numbers than that. So that's the lowest number. And this is through food, through resources, tourism, etc. And that's a staggering amount of money. So if that goes away, a lot of people lose the ability to have a relatively inexpensive source of protein in the terms of fish, because if there's no coral reef, certain fish will die, and then it kind of goes up the food chain, and we're at the end of that. So this is a big deal, and I think that medically speaking, I think it's important to understand this from a bigger picture, whether it's, sunscreen or something else that's damaging the environment, I think it's super important that we understand this. So let's shift gears here for a moment and talk about sort of the sunscreens in general that are detrimental to people. And I'm not mentioning brands. It's sort of I don't want to get into that. So I'm going to tell you what you need, what you want, what you don't want. So the EWG, which is the Environmental Work Group, they do research on various environmental things, but one of the things is sunscreens. They're the group that puts out the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. For those of you who don't know, the Clean 15 are the 15 fruits that are considered to be relatively clean as far as pesticides go, and any other chemical additives, even if they're not organic. And the Dirty Dozen are the ones that you absolutely should only buy organic, because they use a lot of either fungicides or pesticides or GMO or something like that. So that's what the Environmental Work Group's philosophy is about, is helping people find affordable alternatives to organic and what to buy organic. But they look at other products as well, including sunscreen and the trouble with sunscreen. So the chemicals, oxybenzone and octinoxate are the two worst. Their hazard score for oxybenzone is 8, and that's out of 10. There's moderate toxicity concerns with homosalate, octisalate, octocrylene, and the lowest concerns are the titanium dioxide, zinc oxide, and right now avobenzone. I don't know if that's going to stand up over time. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that some of these are for applied, as a cream. And titanium dioxide is actually worse as a powder or spray. So I don't recommend spray sunscreens for a variety of reasons, one of which is that, you can inhale what's in it, and the people around you can inhale what's in it, and it's not really meant to go inside your lungs. The other is that a more mundane reason, which is that you're more likely to miss spots with the spray as opposed to applying it. Because when you apply it, particularly the titanium or the zinc dioxides, those creams, tend to go on white at first, so you can kind of see where you're getting and not getting. And that's kind of the gist of it. So if you learn nothing else from this program, to get a brand of sunscreen that has those ingredients, titanium dioxide and zinc oxide, and that's kind of the approach that I would recommend. And I'm going to tell you why in the second half of the show, what's going on with the human body as a result of these. So stay tuned. Hello, welcome back to Ask Dr. Gil. This is your host, Dr. Gil Winkleman, and I want to return to sunscreens, but I want to talk to you about an e-course that I'm going to be doing about pyroluria and what to do if you think you have pyroluria. It's educational, although there'll be specific information in it. And if you want more information, if you go to my website, askdrgil.com, that's ASKDRGIL.com, and then /workshops, If the information about it isn't up yet, there will be a form to sign up, and we can, you can sign up, give us your email address, and we're not going to spam you or anything. We'll just let you know when the workshop's coming. So that's kind of the idea behind that. And if you have any questions or have a topic you want to see covered here on the program, please feel free to send an email at info at askdrgil.com, and we'll hopefully be able to cover it at some point. Okay, so let's talk sunscreens again. And so the big thing about the sunscreens is not just about the coral reefs. And even though I am a firm believer in the environment and so forth, and protecting the environment, it's also a health hazard concern. And it's interesting, when this bill in Hawaii was being debated, a number of dermatologists came out against it, saying that the skin cancer risk was too high. And my argument to that is that there's other alternatives to these oxybenzones. And in fact, the zinc oxide and the titanium dioxide seem to actually protect your skin better than either of any of the other chemicals. And interestingly enough, one of the less harmful aspects of these chemicals, in particularly oxybenzone, is that there's high rates of skin allergy as it relates to this. And in fact, the Dermatitis Society, which is a group of dermatologists, called benzophenones the biggest cause of contact dermatitis in 2014. And it's kind of interesting that it's taking sort of this approach about the coral reefs to ban this, when in fact it's really not, safe just for your skin, topically speaking. There's high rates of skin allergies with oxybenzone. There's moderately high rates with octinoxate. There's high rates with octocrylene. So all of these chemicals can actually affect your skin. Now, octocrylene and octisalate, we know that they penetrate the skin, which does not happen with the titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. And in fact, the oxybenzone, when you apply it to your skin, they've done studies and found 15 minutes later it's showing up in your urine. So it's actually going through the body. It's not just going into the skin. And it's a very, very high skin penetration rate, almost 10% in some studies. So that tells me that, it's something that is getting absorbed into our body, and it is a chemical. We don't necessarily want it going into our body, particularly if we're just putting it on our skin. Now, here's the problem with it, and where it becomes an issue is that what it's doing to the coral reefs, it's also doing to humans. So it bleaches the coral. The coral, by the way, is a living being. It's alive. Usually, when you think about coral, you see what's been calcified and is no longer alive. But the coral actually moves. And like I said, it's fixing carbon dioxide and producing oxygen. But it's also this oxybenzone is affecting the animals in the reef system as well. So it's changing the sex of fish. Specifically, it is changing males to females because it acts like an estrogen. And it actually does that in people as well. So it is an endocrine disruptor. It is we think maybe lowering testosterone levels within teenagers, teenage boys, and affecting their sperm motility and affecting their ability to be fertile. It's also in women associated with endometriosis. So for anybody out there who may have hormonal disruption, hormone issues, I certainly would recommend against using something like, oxybenzone topically, because it is getting absorbed, and who knows what else it's doing to your body as a result. And, we don't have, great human studies on this, because generally you can't do something because of human research standards. You can't do something that you think might be harmful to a person to test that. So studies that are done, hey, here's a drug that we think can help, and then we're going to see kind of, are there any side effects, right? That's different because we think we're actually going to do more good than harm. But you can't do a study where you think, I'm going to do more harm than good. Let's see what's going on with that. And unfortunately, with these topical agents, they weren't researched for very long or very effectively. So that's kind of the piece to this. Now, I do want to mention that actinoxate also shows hormone-like activity, and it also may be affecting thyroid, and it may be affecting behavior as well. In certain animals, those studies are not as as developed in terms of the behavioral, but certainly the thyroid issues and the reproductive system disruption is true with that, and also with homosalate, it seems to be disrupting estrogen, androgen, and progesterone. So, what can you do? My advice is not to use any sunscreen that has any of these chemicals in it, to limit yourself to the titanium dioxide and the zinc oxide chemicals for now, mostly because, they're not absorbed, or if they are, it's like super minute. And I would say that, you could also try avobenzone and Meroxyl SX. I know less about those. They seem to be, less studied. Obviously, you want to use these topically, not as a spray, as a cream rather, and because there are inhalation concerns with some of these as well. But none of them are completely safe. And I would also say that, talk to your doctor about whether you need to be using sunscreen all the time. There's some debate about that, depending on what latitude you live, how, what your skin tone is like, and so forth. And there's some research to say that it's not just about the sun exposure that's causing these skin cancers, that there's other aspects, that are more holistic. Eating a good diet, making sure you have antioxidants, in terms of vitamins, vitamin E, vitamin C, and so forth. As part of this, to protect from that oxidative stress that happens when you are out in the sun. And it is important to get sunlight. And without sunscreen, at least for 20 minutes out of the day, depending on your latitude, again, you would change the time. If you're in Hawaii in summer, you probably don't want to go out into the direct sun for 20 minutes during, midday from, say, 10 to 2, because most likely you will end up with a burn. But if you're in Portland, that's probably a good time to do it, because the sun is at a higher level and it's stronger. And the reason you need to do this is for vitamin D production. And, it's important to get that happening. And it's not just, by the way, the sun going against your skin, it's also going through eyes. And apparently there's some reaction that happens from the light hitting your eyes. And you want to get, a certain amount of, I'm not saying look directly at the sun, but at least having sunlight coming in unfiltered by sunglasses for a certain amount of time as well. You don't have to look up at the sun. It's just the light coming through that helps your body. It's creating a few reactions for the pituitary, for the pineal glands, and so forth. So that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the program. If you do enjoy my show, please leave a review on iTunes It would be really helpful. And again, if you have any questions, you can send them to info@askdrgil.com. That's info@askdrgil.com. And I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you next time. Take care.